Hello, welcome to Fueled by Coffee podcast. Hello to everyone in SoundCloud land. My name is Matt. I'm your host. Today we have a special episode coming to you. We're currently still in between seasons 1 and 2. Currently the whole state of the world kind of threw off my plans to have season 2 coming out over the summer. I'm working on getting episodes together. It's just hard to meet up with people being that there's a quarantine and that whole deal. But right now we're coming to you through the power of Zoom. Thank God for Zoom. I am here today with my friend John. This is his second episode. And Aaron, who this is technically his fourth episode.
Now the longest tenured guest.
So Aaron has broken the record.
Hall of Famer.
For four appearances on the podcast. So, yeah. Wow. We're going to... Round of applause for Aaron.
Let's get him on a fifth episode.
Oh, yeah.
I'm eventually just going to weasel my way into co-host.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think you are the co-host now.
We've talked about quite a few things. We had the Brown Month. We had the COVID Eagles episode. The one that's coming out on season 2 with your brother Pete. We talked about music and stuff. And now on today's episode, we're going to be men at work. This is the Men at Work episode. Ooh, but before we get into that, just an update. I have 2 confirmed episodes for season 2. Aaron, even though people may be thinking, well, wait, this is only Aaron's 3rd episode. You're wrong, because there's a 4th episode. Him and his brother Pete did an episode with me over Zoom. They're going to be on season 2. And then I just got official, I guess, confirmation. John's band Food Truck, the guys, we're going to have an episode for the season premiere of season 2. We'll have Food Truck, so Miles and Ryan will get on. We'll talk about music and influences and all that stuff. So super excited. Things are looking up for the podcast. I'm really looking forward to where it's going. But today we're here talking about work. Last thing, John, what kind of coffee do we have today? What are we drinking?
We got the home-brewed Dunkin'. It's Dunkin', but I have a bean grinder where you can grind the beans for the extra freshness. Yeah,
extra fresh.
That's what's up.
So I grinded the beans, and then we put them in the coffee pot, brewed it, and it's just regular Dunkin', like the classic, just I guess medium flavor. I'm not sure what it is, but it's the original Dunkin' blend. So shout out to Dunkin'.
Sponsor me. It's pretty good. But yeah, so let's jump into it, guys. We've all had work histories. Maybe yours are probably longer than mine, but let's all start off with what we do now. So I guess, should I start? I'll start. So right now I bake overnight for a grocery store. I was in warehousing for about 2.5 years, and the one job was great. The other job was not so great. We'll get into that later. But, you know, I'm a creative person. I like to work with my hands, and when you're just putting things in boxes all day and you're being tracked by your metrics, you know, work is just, it's a grind and it's not fun. And then, you know, for me personally, I got into like a bad headspace because of it. So I kind of started over, and I really enjoy baking, so I applied around, and a grocery store called me, and I've been doing that for...
Wait, so you're not going to name the place?
Should I name the grocery store?
No, we'll just say it's
the opposite.
It's the
for all our jobs, we'll just say we worked at a company.
It's
in
the
what
opposite.
Industry there.
It's the opposite of midget. That's my hint.
Yes. Okay. So I work for a grocery store called Giant. It's like a... I just don't want to throw anyone under the bus if I have something negative to say. But either way, yes, I work for a grocery store called Giant, and I've been there for a little over a year now, probably almost a year and a half. I bake overnight, and I love the work.
What's overnight, though, just so people can understand?
So it's a really weird shift. You know, most people, when they think overnight, they think third shift. They think like 11 to 7. I currently work 2 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Which is personally the craziest shift I've ever heard of, because I have a lot of friends. I think anybody knows someone who used to work overnight, and that's the common thing. Is the third shift is like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 11 to 7. I've never heard of 2 a.m. That sounds so crazy.
Yeah. And yeah, they kind of got me with that. They said like, oh yeah, it'll be when they called me like an hour after I applied, which is, they must have been desperate. And well, they were desperate, as I found out after starting, but they said, oh yeah, it'll be like 2:30 to 8:30. We know it's weird hours. We might be able to push it to like a 3 to 9 shift. And I was like,
yeah, they really fucked you.
I was like, okay. And then I went for my orientation and everything, and she gave me my first schedule, and she said she gives it to me and it says 2 to 8. And I was like, wait. I was like, wait. I was told 2:30 to 8:30. No, it's 2 to 8.
They always do
like,
that.
she just like put a wall up. Nope.
They twist your arm.
So then I was like, all right. Yeah, because it's like at that point, you're in now. I mean, you can just walk away. But for me, like, I'd basically quit warehousing, took a month off because it was the end of the year, and then got into baking. So I kind of like, I needed a job. I was sick of sitting at home and just like, I was doing stuff, but it wasn't like getting up and going to a job and having something productive to do every day. And like, I just felt like a blob. But yeah, so I currently bake overnight. Right. I love the work. I love, making donuts. That's my favorite part of my job. It's fun. I get to be creative. And I just get a satisfaction out of doing it. Like, I love looking at everything I bake after it's all done. Like, I do the breads, I do the rolls, make donuts, decorate donuts. I make like pastries, strudel bites, all that stuff. And I just get a great satisfaction out of doing it. The hours are awful, and my coworkers can be really awful at times. Like, the first, I'd say, year, it was like awful. And now things have sort of started to balance out a little bit, and it's okay, but yeah. So that's what I do. So, Aaron, what is your work situation currently, and what do you like about your job?
Well, due to the virus, I'm actually unemployed right now.
Mm-hmm.
I had started at a website design / social media management. It was kind of like a digital marketing agency, all encompassing. They managed websites, managed social media accounts for different small to medium-sized businesses. And I started there 2 weeks before the shutdown.
Yeah. Wait, before that, were you insurance?
I was insurance at one point, but I had been working at a small like computer repair shop for a little while, starting in January. Okay,
just because I remember him saying you were doing insurance.
Yeah, I've done quite a few gigs.
Wow.
Yeah, so government shutdown. The company was not very large, maybe 50 employees, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So there were 4 of us that were fairly new that got, I guess, temporarily laid off, but with no real return date. So.
Ah, man.
Just the circumstances of the time, I guess.
Yeah, uncertainty right there.
Just as he was getting back into it, and he's like, all right, stability. And it's like, nope, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, the last almost year has been kind of pretty up and down for me.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go into it all right now, but
yeah,
this is my second stint on unemployment in the last year.
Right.
Both due to kind of unforeseen circumstances.
Right.
Which,
jeez.
Yeah. So I guess in the short time you were there, like, what did you enjoy about?
Yeah, in the 2 weeks or whatever the length was.
I know you were just.
They were a very forward-thinking company, and very generous to the employees. They brought in lunch on.
I love that.
We got pizza on Wednesdays, and then they brought in hoagies on Fridays, and we also had like a mini happy hour in the office for an hour on Fridays. So
that's pretty.
They would
cool.
bring in beer, and we could all drink a beer at work.
That's awesome. I love that. That stuff goes a long way.
Yeah, it was a really great. It was a great culture in the office.
And that's good.
That's good. That's what's good about small work rosters. When like you said, you had like around 50 people. You know pretty much everyone's name. You know like what to expect, and you're treated more like family, or like just treated more of like in a friendly way. Usually when you're just a number, almost like a military, you're just some number, you're just 1 out of a million or 1 out of 100,000 or something. Like they could care less, that's what it feels like sometimes. So
yeah, you get lost in the databases.
Yeah.
That's how warehousing was, is, and always will be, but we'll talk about that later. So John, we've talked about it before, but let's get into it now.
I still work at a car wash. It's the best job I've ever had. It's pretty easygoing, and I learned a lot. So it's like automated car washes. So it's not like the old-fashioned car wash where they guide you up and then they prep your car. You know, that's kind of how you scratch cars, honestly, because all it takes is putting that brush on the ground for like 3 seconds, and you get a pebble or some micro pebble, and then you're just rubbing it on people's wheels and paint. And so they used to do that a very long time ago. The company's called Chamois Shine, and they're very similar to what Aaron was talking about. It's like a smaller company. There's, I think, 13 locations in New Jersey and PA. I live in Easton, so I live on the border, and I actually work in Jersey. And I've worked at a couple Chamois Shines, all in Jersey, and it's good, man. And I've moved up, got a couple raises. They like me for some reason, and it's cool. My car's never dirty, so I enjoy that.
Nice perk.
Yeah, that's one nice perk. It's a good job, and you learn a lot. Mechanically, you learn how car washes work. They're pretty complex. They have like their own hydraulic systems, airline systems. Everything's like precision, like time, and it's all based on pressure, and it's pretty intense. When one thing breaks, you have to diagnose what's wrong with the wash. So, I mean, I'm still have a million things to learn, but it's a good job. It really changed my interest in things. Like, I definitely feel more hands-on, and I feel like I can fix things, you know, like before I didn't know anything about tools, and now I know, like, you know, every part of a tool set, and like, you know, there's still things I need to learn and will learn, but it's cool. I definitely feel like close to the Chamois Shine family. Like, I feel important. Everybody knows my name. The owner knows my name. Like, we're all connected. We're all like, and we do stuff like that where we'll like buy each other lunch or like buy each other coffee, just like little like gestures like that, like, you know. So it's cool. I like it. And being in a band, Chamois Shine closes at 7 p.m. because it's a car wash. We have like an auto, like a prep thing where you can clean your car whenever, you know, you take the wand out and you pay right there with quarters or card, and you can spray your car like the self-wash. We have that obviously 24/7, vacuums 24/7, but the tunnel is only 7 to 7, and obviously you need somebody there for that, you know. But
so it just works out with the music.
It works out with the music stuff, yeah. And we have a couple younger kids than me now because I've been there probably a year and a half, about the same time as you with Giant.
That was a fun period in time. We were unemployed at the same time. He quit his job at, where were you at, BJ's, working in the deli?
Yeah. Oh my god, fuck BJ's. Fuck BJ's.
I quit warehousing, and there was like I put my 2 weeks in, and I had like the last 2 weeks of December off, so it was nice. I was like off for Christmas and New Year's and stuff. I didn't really have anything to worry about, but he and I were unemployed at the same time, and like we were both searching, like we both wanted to kind of start over because he had been working in delis and stuff.
Yeah, it was fun, but man, people really shit on you. Like, you wouldn't believe it. Like anything like that, like working in a grocery store, like it depends
any
what
kind
you
of
do.
customer-facing position.
Yeah, I mean, I get shit on at the car wash, but I'm allowed to like because it's a smaller company, you know, like if someone curses at me, like I'm allowed to like stand up for myself. But like those big companies, you're like, you're just,
always right.
you're taught that like you can't say anything back, or you have to walk away if it's really bad. And it's like, that's not good to teach somebody that they're a doormat.
Yeah.
You know, oh, if you're on the clock, you're a doormat. Like, yeah. don't try. So that's the stuff I hate. That's one thing I really, you know, because every time I've ever had an issue with a customer, I could literally be 100% in the right, but they just automatically are like, well, you know, the customer's right, that kind of mentality. They don't say it like that, but it's like,
we've had some crazy customers since the COVID thing started.
Oh yeah, I think I've had some crazy customers too, man.
We had a guy, I wasn't there for this because I leave so early apparently, so like what they wanted us to do initially was all the Italian bread loaves that I make, they wanted us to slice all of them so that there was sliced bread, because like we couldn't, normally like a customer could bring us a loaf of bread and say, hey, can you slice this for us? But we weren't allowed to do that. Once something was packaged, we couldn't take it out of the package. That was it. So because we were slicing all the bread, apparently some guy had a meltdown and was like screaming and yelling and threatening my manager. And he's like, "There's a fucking joke. What the fuck?" You know, like freaking out.
Yeah,
so
people are on edge too. I've noticed that.
Or like what we had to do with the donuts, we scaled back what we were making. And then what we had to do is we just had to make 6-packs. And then it was, oh, well, don't make any of the fun donuts. So now it's just like boring stuff like glazed and chocolate and powdered, like all the old people flavors.
Yeah.
And then this is my thing. Whenever I get into donuts, I get fired up. But yeah, no, so we so we had to scale back. Then it was like, just do boring donuts in the 6-packs. But then I guess enough people complained. Some guy came in and had a meltdown because he didn't want to get a 6-pack. You know why? I only want one. I was told I had one week to live by the doctor. I had 2 weeks to live by the doctor. I just want one donut. And I'm thinking, bro, if you're gonna die
That's
next
a good
week,
reason to have a meltdown, though.
But
I was gonna say, what a loser! Like, who has the time of day, or like?
but like my thought is, if you're
He's gonna die though.
if you're
so,
gonna
I mean,
die, why not just
he's a winner.
just get 6 donuts and eat all 6 of them?
Yeah.
If you're gonna die anyways, I mean, that might be an awful take on it.
Yeah, that's a good point. You
But
just
either-
got terminal cancer, God forbid. But
But either way, yeah. So enough people complained about having 6-packs that now we have to do single donuts, and I have to individually package every single donut in a clamshell plastic packaging, which is it's not environmentally friendly. It's funny, Giant's like, oh, we're a green company, and like we're wasting all this plastic. And not only
you're only green until it costs you more money.
yeah, and it's just like, and then I guess people wanted 6-packs, so now I have to do singles.
Every time you see 6-pack, though, I'm picturing someone who's like ripped, and like they're like, I don't want this 6-pack.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Or I'm picturing a 6-pack of beer or something. But.
Yeah, so it's like now I have to, like, people, that's like the whole thing with the customer, like you just, whatever the customer says, you have to do, even if it's like the minority, you know, like the smallest group of people could be complaining about something, you have
To appease them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. But as you get older, you kind of figure out, like, is it worth it? It's like the pain and pleasure. It's like once you get to that point where there's more pain and pleasure, if someone talks shit to you, you're just like, hey, I'm going to talk shit back. Like, go tell the manager I don't care. Because I've had that where, like, I already knew, like, I was going to be done with a job. Like, I was already putting my 2 weeks, and then someone just comes in on the wrong day at the wrong time and shits on me. And then I just go right back to them, and I'm like, I'm, like, literally quitting. Like, I have 2 weeks, so we could do this right here in the produce aisle. You ready?
I got nothing to lose.
I got nothing to lose, old lady. It's like a 90-year-old lady. Put them up.
Drop kicking grandma. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting world being out with customers. People are crazy.
Yeah, I think it's like anything.
See, like, I got lucky though, because I leave like.
Yeah, I feel like you don't have to deal with customers. Like,
there's barely anyone in from 6 to 8 a.m. from open till I leave. So like that's kind of nice. I have had some shitty ones recently with the COVID stuff that are just like a pain in the ass. But like, I mean, you just deal with it. Just let it roll off your back and keep moving.
All right, well, why don't we talk about...
Let's talk about past jobs now.
That's what I was going to say. We should talk about previous jobs and, like, just maybe a crazy story or something, because I have, like, 100.
Yeah, so I'll just start. So I was in warehousing. I had 2 different warehousing jobs. I basically had one lined up for right when I graduated high school, beginning of June, and it was for a company. I've done like 6,000 episodes about it. It's called Peapod. Basically, people would order their groceries.
Peapod.
People would order their groceries. We would pick them and pack them. There was like a mini grocery store in the back of the store. It was also through Giant. And we would... Yeah, Giant veteran here.
I was going to say, where are you going to work next? Martin? Have you ever heard of Martin?
Yeah.
It's owned by Giant,
It's in
too.
Virginia Stop and Shop.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it was through Giant, and like we'd pick people's groceries, we'd pack them, and like for a first job, it was good to like, you know, get into like I guess a first real job.
That was your first job?
Well, I guess my first job was Saucon Valley Music. Shout out to Jerry. I was just like a customer service guy, clerk. I cleaned the store, did transactions, whatever, you know, and it was like under the table. I was
That's
like,
that's a first job.
I was like 14 years old. It was fun. I got to play guitars if we were slow. That was fun. But yeah, like my first like real like with a paycheck and all that stuff was Peapod. And yeah, I did 3 episodes on it. Some of them are very long-winded, but you can go check them out if you haven't heard them yet. But yeah, and like the only reason why that job was great is because I had friends, and like my group of people, we were so tight knit. We made it fun to work there. Even on the shittiest of days, we were making each other laugh. So there was that. I was there for like, I don't know, 2 years and 3 months, and then I got a job at a bigger warehouse, huge operation called
Cunt Fix.
Stitch Fix. Cunt Fix. It's called Stitch Fix.
Yeah, and Stitch Fix sucks.
It was, John interviewed there, and the thing is like they rope you in. I'd known like 3 people that
I didn't want to work there though. After I did the interview, I was like, this is a cult.
Yeah, it's
fucking weird.
They get you, they rope you in with the interview. They're like, oh, we're the best workplace in the Lehigh Valley for 4 years in a row.
No, they're garbage. If you look at like, they do job reviews, and like obviously a lot of people who review jobs, it's usually gonna be negative, because that's how it is in this world. Is the loudest voice is the most negative voice. You know what I mean? And it's like you look at these reviews, and it's always like, fuck Stitch Fix. Like, you know, I worked there for a week, and they said I was drinking. I wasn't, it's like, okay. But it's like that kind of shit. It's like, yeah, all right. But no, seriously, I know a lot of people who worked for Stitch Fix, and it's garbage.
Yeah. Like, I was there for 3 months, and my life went so downhill in those 3 months. I was like, this is great. I talked to, like I said, 3 people. One of them got a job there who has gotten fired since.
Shout out
to Party Cake. He's on season 2 as well. But yeah, they sell you on the interview. They're like, we're the best workplace in the Lehigh Valley. We do things for our employees. We have a monthly luncheon, and we want you to talk and make friends. And if there's a song on the radio while you're working, dance in the aisles and sing along. And like, they're like, oh yeah, when I interviewed the lady who I later found out was an inbound supervisor, which they had way less work than the outbound. I got stuck in outbound. Fuck me. And the lady was like, oh yeah, like one of our employees, if we notice you're having an off day, we'll just tell you, oh, go get a coffee in the break room, take a rest, you'll be okay, like we got you. And I was like, wow, like this is super laid back. They sound like they really care about me. And me being, even though I only had like one really consistent job in my history, I guess I had enough accolades like at that job. Like I did so much at Peapod that they were like, oh yeah, he's a good versatile worker. So they hired me, and I was like, this is great. It was almost $14 an hour. I had health benefits. It was full time. It was far from my house. I live in Hellertown, which is about like 35 minutes from Nazareth, where I was working.
Is it that far?
Yeah, the way
it's like 10 minutes for me, I think.
Yeah, see, like I was taking the back way because in the morning there was like the morning rush on the highway, and like so I would just take the back way. But yeah, there'd be times where I'd leave at like 3. I think I worked till 3 or 3:30, and I would leave. It would take me like 20 minutes just to get out of the parking lot, because there was like 600, 700 people working in this building.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Like it is the definition of a warehouse job. Yeah.
And like half of us, maybe more than half of us would leave at the same time. So it was like it took me like almost half an hour to leave the parking lot. Then it took me like another 10-15 minutes to get down to a main road. Like it took me, and then if there was traffic on the highway, which normally there were days where I didn't get home. It took me like an hour to get home, and I was like, this is bullshit. 'Cause then it's like you basically eat dinner and go to bed. You have no time for anything else. But it was just, I learned that with warehousing, like we said, you're just a number, and no matter how much they say they value you, they track your metrics. And if you could have the best metrics for like 3 months, like me, it took me a week to hit my numbers, and then I was pretty much either hitting them or exceeding them every week. And you could be like that, and say you have one day where like you're feeling sick and you miss your numbers. They're up your ass, and they're saying, why didn't you hit your numbers? You need to hit your numbers. Why didn't you hit metrics? And it's like, I was sick, and that's how they were. They made it sound like, oh, if you're having an off day, it's okay. But then as soon as
they're fair weather. They only like you when you're good.
Yeah, And then when you have that off day, it's like not acceptable. So
yeah, fuck Stitch Fix.
And it was just like, the grind of it, like the drive, and like I was an outbound, so I was picking orders. And the thing is like the warehouse wasn't air conditioned. I started at the end of August, and there were days where it was like 100 degrees and humid in the warehouse, and I was basically like running from aisle to aisle picking clothes, sweating. And then like if you couldn't find stuff, like you had a computer on a cart, and it was basically like if you couldn't find something, I'm probably breaking like an NDA right now, because I remember them saying you can't show people our technology. Well, too bad.
What? Who are you showing?
Yeah, well, no, because I'm explaining it. I guess they were like, you can't tell anyone how we do things. It was like they were real secretive.
They
It was
have
like,
a secret nuclear like bomb weapon or something. You think you're just picking clothes, but you're actually like
Operating
picking
a-
World War III's next bomb.
but yeah, no,
That's where Kim Jong-un went.
he works for Stitch Fix.
Yeah, Stitch Fix. He didn't meet his numbers.
But yeah, they basically, you had a computer on a cart, and you picked like 5 orders at a time, and it would show you like where to go. That there were aisles labeled by letters or numbers or something like that. And if you couldn't find an item, there's a barcode to scan. But then they'd send someone out, and if they found it, you would get penalized because you couldn't find it. Which is so. There were times
That makes complete sense,
dude,
right there.
There were times where there was like a pair. It was like a shirt, and the clothing was really cheap, and it was like there was like thin shirts that I needed, and for whatever reason, it was like smashed between 2 pairs of pants, and like the racks would be so full of clothes that like you could barely. It was like going to a thrift store when they're really full. You couldn't separate the clothes, and then they'd come to you and be like, "Oh, you had 3 errors yesterday." One of them was a misthrow, which is like where you throw it in the wrong box. I could see that being a pain in the ass for the people who like do the final pack up and wrapping. But then it was like, oh yeah, and you had 2 item not found, but they found it. And I was like, well, I'm sorry, I'm not Jesus, and I'm not perfect,
You're not Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, I don't know. So it was just, the work was very monotonous. It was very repetitive. And like, I remember I went on a trip to Maine while I was there, and when I came back, I was like, man, there's so much world out there to see, and like, life should be a happy thing. Like, yeah, you're gonna have your ups and downs, but like, you shouldn't be miserable at a job. And that's when I got to thinking, well, what would I enjoy doing?
Nice.
So I made it was weird. It was like one trip to Maine was like an eye-opening experience.
You
to
made
me.
the switch to prostitute. You said, I really love this. I feel really good about this.
I'm great at sucking dick. I'm great at taking it in the ass. No, it's just like this is clearly not a Christian podcast. No, I just it was just weird. Like on that trip, I just kind of had something inside me that said like, you're not destined to do warehousing forever.
I think you saw it from the outside. It's like anything. It's like when you're in a relationship and like you take a break, or you just have this moment of clarity where instead of being on the inside and kind of like the blurred lines, like you can't really figure out where things are anymore. If you're like outside of it, you really get a good look at it. So I definitely think that's probably what happened, is you took a 1 week off or something and you were like, holy shit, my job really sucks.
Yeah. And like, not only,
I think we've all had that.
yeah. And like, not only that, like I started having like when you're not in the best like mental health, it's easier, like your immune system doesn't work as well, so it's easier for you to get sick. Every month I worked there, like I got sick in October, I got sick in November, I got sick in December, and it was like, you're running around, like with me, I get really bad sinus infections, and so like I was like running around this warehouse trying to like get all my orders picked and stuff, and like my face felt like it was gonna explode from the sinus pressure. My throat was sore, like it was so bad, and like you're sweating, it's 100 degrees. And then there's the brown month snowpocalypse that happened while I was there. Go check out season 1 episode 1.
Was that where the really bad snowstorm and like
they didn't let us out early, and I got stuck on the way home. It took me like 9 hours to get home or something.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because they were like,
has the story of that day.
They were like,
I think I was off that day. I got lucky.
Yeah, they were like, the men's department's behind, so no one can go home. We were like, are you fucking kidding me? Not everyone just works in Bethlehem, like
they really care about you, clearly.
Yeah, there were, and like we later found out too. Well, and like the other thing was like with. Like there was no time to make friends. It was always just constant, like on the go. Like if you didn't hit your metrics, you're gonna get in trouble. So like there was no time to like talk to anyone, or yeah, it just wasn't good. And like I eventually like ended up like kind of having a mental tank. I was like getting depressed. I felt stuck. like I had a panic attack at work the one day. That's when I drew the line. I started talking to people and they're like, just get out of there, like start over.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah. So
I mean, they don't even give you, it's not like they have an exceptional paycheck, you know? Like
yeah.
most warehouse jobs, they can get away with giving you like $12, $13 starting, maybe more if you're operating a forklift or equipment.
Or like Amazon. I think Amazon, they do like 15 or something like that
for anything. But that's what I'm saying, is there's no bottom of the barrel for them because they are such a filthy rich company. But at the end of the day, they don't give a shit about their employees, and they seem like their management's probably not the best.
There was lots of favoritism.
Yeah, so it's flaky, it's biased. So it's like they're just going to shoot themselves in the foot. Stitch Fix is not going to be a thing in the next 10 years. That's my guess.
And yeah, and there were times too, like I remember them talking, like she sat me down after 2 weeks and she was like, oh, like you're doing good. Where would you be beneficial to cross train in the warehouse? And I told her like, oh, this area, because I'm really good at what they do. I did it at my last job. And she said, okay, yeah, we'll get you over there in like a couple weeks. Sits me down again a couple weeks later and she's like, all right, we're gonna cross train you where you said. Cool. Comes back maybe a couple weeks later, maybe a month later, and she was like, oh, they were going to put me in like a completely different department that I knew I was going to be awful at, and I was not going to be happy. And I was just like, I expressed that as like, hey, like I don't think I'd be a good benefit to the company here. You know, I think I'd really work well for you guys in this other area. And, you know, she just didn't want to hear it. And the other thing, they were trying to change so much at once. Like I've never heard of, I mean, like companies change and that's the only way to keep evolving, but like it was basically a situation of like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that's what they're trying to do, is just like change everything. So yeah, I don't know, I got out of there. And I also found out apparently they were a private company. That's like when everyone was getting hired, and like that's when it was so great and they were doing all this stuff for the employees. And then like a year before I got hired, they became a publicly traded company. So then it was like, they're not making money for themselves, they're making money for the shareholders. So now it's like, there's that pressure to,
oh, they have to make the numbers now.
So that's why they were being so like stickler.
That makes sense.
But anyways, yep, I got out of warehousing, and you know, my job's not perfect now, but I'm so much more satisfied with what I do work-wise, and that's the biggest thing of importance. The schedule sucks. I don't sleep much. I sleep when I can, but it's like, you know what? I like the work I do. But
it's beautiful.
Yeah, I know. I just learned you have to make yourself happy. You have to take care of yourself. That's what warehousing taught me. So, all right, who's next? Job history. I guess top 3 jobs, and like, if you had a major lesson learned like I did with warehousing or something. Yeah,
because it doesn't necessarily have to be like
your worst
3
job.
Amazing jobs. Like, because I know one of the jobs I'm going to pick is a somewhat shitty job, but it taught me a lot. So I feel like that's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever had an amazing job.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Most people haven't.
Yeah.
If I did, I'd probably still be there.
Yeah.
But let's see. I worked all over the place. I started in pet food. Natural pet food. My dad's friend owned a shop. This was when I was in high school, so 10 plus years ago now.
Getting old.
I know, right?
Where was the shop, if I can ask?
It was actually at the Promenade Shops in Center Valley. It was called Paws to Tail.
Huh.
I don't think the brand exists anymore.
Right.
Like that. I don't think the shop exists. He ended up selling it to somebody else, and I think they ended up moving it and then eventually closing down. But they partnered with adoption places, and they had all kinds of organic pet food and like really healthy stuff for your pets.
That's cool.
So that was cool because it was my first job.
So would that count as your 3rd best job, so to say?
Yeah, I'll put that because that's where I started from the bottom.
Okay, Drake.
And it taught me a lot of good customer service training, I guess. It was good experience to get my feet wet in high school. And I probably wasn't very good at it at that time.
Yeah.
And I still probably am not great at it now. But for different reasons, I think, because now I know a lot more about the industry, and it's more that I don't care about people's feelings as much,
right,
rather than not knowing how to do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's a difference for sure.
Let's see. I worked at a car dealership for a little while as a detailing person, but I'm gonna keep that off the list.
No shit. So you know about cleaning cars, kind of.
A little bit.
Oh,
Sweet.
I also worked at Lehigh University in their transportation department, where I kind of cleaned their fleet vehicles.
What?
That was fun, but more
That
because
sounds
of
awesome.
more because of the people, and it was just like a fun place to work. It wasn't a lot of pressure. They have vehicles that they rent to different organizations throughout the university, so they have like maybe 30 or 40, probably 30 cars and a couple like big cargo vans. So
Wow, that sounds like a freaking awesome job.
I would wash them. I would clean out the inside real nice. Get it sparkly and shiny for the next renter.
John loves washing cars. Like literally, so I'm getting ready to sell mine, and he was like, he'll wash my car for me. I'll take it out to Chamois Shine, but he's like, yeah, like we'll vacuum out your car. We'll get it nice and clean. He like gets a hard on for washing cars.
Well, hear me out. It's kind of like you're talking about donuts. How you get excited, like you at the end of the day or your shift or whatever. You look at back and you're just like, look at all those donuts. And that's how I feel. Like there's something satisfying because I'm slightly OCD. I'm like a clean freak. Like you should see my room. It's usually like pretty spotless. Always been that way. And there's something really satisfying about cleaning something that's really dirty. Like a car comes in with mucked and mud or something. There is something satisfied when someone puts me to the task, because I know I can do it, but there's something really satisfying, like, 30 minutes to an hour later looking at that same car and just be like, I did that. Like there's something, it's weird. It's this satisfactory, like it's this psychological.
Realizing the fruits of your labor.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Turning something real ugly into something beautiful.
Yeah. Or in Matt's case, something real ugly to something
Less ugly. But so anyways, so you had the Lehigh University gig. Would you rank that number 2, or is that just like in the list of jobs?
Oh man, this is gonna be real tough to pick 3. I'll put it as number 2, I guess.
Sound like a cool job.
I hope Panera's in here at some point. I want to hear some Panera stories.
It was great. It was a really cool job. It was a summer job, so it wasn't full time, but it was like 7 to 3, real easy hours. People were really relaxed. No, it wasn't really busy because it wasn't during the school year, so it was more like clubs over the summer that were taking the vehicles out.
Gotcha.
My grandma and aunt both worked there. At one point, so I worked with my grandma, which not a
lot of people can say
many
that.
people can say that now.
Wow.
I guess a strange quirk.
Yeah, that's cool.
You ever spray your grandma with the hose?
No.
What the hell?
She would have got real mad about that.
Yeah, no. I've sprayed people with the hose. It doesn't. It's funny for a second, but then it's like filled with instant regret. Like, why did I do that?
Right.
Oh man.
What's your first though?
What's my first?
So wait, your third was your first job, which was the pet store. Your friend's dad owned the Promenade. Your second was, cleaning cars for Lehigh University for their clubs and services or whatever scenario is where you worked with your grandma, and you said your aunt, right?
Yeah.
So
it was turning into a legacy business, family business.
Yeah,
the franchise
forever. Yeah. Number 1.
Number 1, I worked for a university called Lipscomb University in Nashville, Tennessee, in their entertainment services department.
Very cool.
So it was kind of like an IT / audio visual position, doing a lot of campus events. I did sound for a lot of the basketball and volleyball games. I did video for like random events. They had robotics meets, and they had chapel services every week because they were a Christian college. And those were all like recorded. Any kind of concert event or business meeting event you could think of, we did that. I guess the top 2, I worked at Arts Quest, which is concert / arts organization in the Lehigh Valley. They're big, and they put on free concerts all summer, so I got to work with them as well. Those were 2 jobs I don't think I made that clear.
Yeah,
Arts
it's
Quest
just
is
separate
1,
jobs.
Lipscomb University was 2,
Okay.
but they were both very similar duty wise.
Well, because I think it's in your field of like what you like. Right?
Audio.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Is that what you went to school for?
It is.
Okay, well,
I
that's
studied
perfect.
There you go.
music and audio engineering.
Okay, then that's perfect. That
I had
makes
some cool
sense.
internships. I interned at Sirius XM Radio, National Public
whoa.
Radio, and BBC World News while I was in school.
That's really cool.
BBC World News.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they have an office in DC where I went to school in DC.
Man, that's
So
awesome.
those were really cool experiences. I
Care
got to
to-
see the Canadian Brass live at Sirius XM, do like an
Wow.
in-studio performance.
Wow.
Huh.
They had some other famous people. I can't remember off the top of my head, but some famous violinists. I got to sit in on an in-person interview.
Wow.
Yeah, really, it was cool stuff.
Damn.
Huh.
That's awesome.
Who was the famous NPR host? He died not too long ago, maybe last year.
Oh, Howard Stern.
Oh, I hate
No.
Howard Stern.
I know.
Let's make it
it's
public.
It's a Seagal, I think is the last name.
Let's make it.
Oh, Steve Seagal. I don't know. I don't know.
Robert Siegel. Robert
Oh.
Siegel.
I don't know. See, I don't know much about radio. Like, I'm a novice in that department.
I would say we could overtake NPR, but I think we're a little too unsophisticated.
Yeah, a little too much cursing and,
Talking about prostitution.
I mean, I barely know the alphabet, so I don't know if they'd want me.
John's never had a job. No.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's up. He better have a job.
Yeah. So
Or
I
have
guess
had one. He needs 3 to
So
qualify for
had
this show,
3.
right?
Yeah, I've had 3 to qualify.
so we ranked Aaron's jobs. I guess, was there like a big epiphany or big lesson you learned, or would that just be what you said about customer service?
Well, I don't want people to take away that I don't care about customer service as the lesson.
I mean, that's all I took away from this course.
Because it's a very important skill to have, and it gets you very far in life to be able to be good at it, because there's far too many people who aren't good at it.
Correct.
That's true.
I guess just don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and try different things. I've done many, many jobs over the years. I've worked since I was basically a senior in high school, I guess, but I've probably had over 10 jobs in the last 10 years.
So you're a job slut.
Pretty much, yeah.
No.
You definitely have some job diseases.
I definitely haven't found
You've
the right
contracted
niche
some.
for my calling, I guess.
It's never too late. That's what 3
yeah.
Days Grace said.
I mean,
Oh my God.
don't be afraid to try different things. If you don't like something, don't feel like you're stuck there just because you don't know how to do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
Start
point.
learning something else, and then networking's a big thing, and that goes along with being good at customer service, because it makes it a little bit easier to network with people, and you can kind of weasel your way into different industries.
Very good.
Just from a elevator pitch, I've done car washing, customer service in the pet industry, the food industry, the insurance industry. I worked in a computer repair shop. I interned in the radio industry. I worked in IT. I worked in audiovisual, and that was all over like 10 years.
Wow. That is a wide variety.
And I'm still expanding, trying to get into software development and web development right now, and
Right.
digital marketing.
Yeah. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with like I guess like sleeping around job-wise, so to say. Like, I've known, I didn't know really how to put that, but like when I was going to high school, my vo-tech teacher, he would always tell us, yeah, I'm 45 and like I still don't really know what I want to do with my life. Like, he was a science teacher. He worked for a concrete company for masonry, and then he became a masonry teacher, but he also had a masonry business on the side, and he did a lot of stuff that he loves, but he'd always tell us you're never too old to like figure out what you really, really want to do and what you'll love.
That's an important lesson, and that's hard to really teach the youth, like, generation that we're in, or the generation younger than us, because in high school they push college on you so hard. They're like college, and like you're supposed to know what you want to do, and that's stupid. Because I honestly think there's something wrong with you if you already know who you are and what you want to do by the time you're 18. Like, I'm jealous. Like, good for you, but at the same time, it's like there's no way you know yourself that well that you're just like, that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Like, that's cool, but I don't believe you. You know.
And even if you do know at 18, who's to say something doesn't happen that shifts your life dramatically?
Well, yeah, life's unpredictable.
Then you're right back at the start where you don't know what you want to do from here.
Yep. So, all very good, I guess, perspectives to have. But now,
yeah, I like his list more than your list.
Yeah, I know.
Mine list sucked.
I know. Mine was just like, well, because I thought I was just going to be like warehousing. Cause that's what my dad did. Like, he did customer service and he was in management and stuff. And then he got into warehousing. That's what he's been doing for almost the last 25 years.
So you've been franchising just like him.
Yeah, like Aaron with
I've got a few more years of experience than Matt, though. So
yeah.
My list is, I guess, expected to be longer. Yeah.
But I thought I was just going to stick with warehousing because I was like, oh, it's easy and it pays well. But then I got into it and I was like, I am not, this isn't who I am. I wasn't happy. So I don't know, made a change. But anyways, John, let's hop into your top 3 jobs.
Oh boy.
And a lesson that you learned.
Okay. So I'm going to take a note out of Aaron's book. My first job will probably be my third. I worked at a country club, Silver Creek Country Club, and I think they switched over to they're called the Steel Club.
Yeah, I heard that today.
They were originally Steel Club all the way till 1986, and then they became Silver Creek Country Club, and then they somehow switched back after I left. I was there over a year, and it was my first job, and I was a senior in high school. Like, as soon as the school year started, I got a job, because a lot of my friends already had jobs. And so a couple of my buddies worked there. So then they brought me in, and it's like a country club. So they literally could give less of a fuck about like the teenage kids they hire. So as long as you could speak English and walk and like, show up on time, that was it. Like, they were just like, okay, he's alive and he speaks English and he's here on time. Okay. That's literally, it's so crazy. And you still get nervous because you don't you do an interview and they don't care about anything that you're telling them. They're just like, okay, he's here and he looks like he'll show up. So then they hire you. So I remember getting hired, and it wasn't the worst job ever, but it's your first job. So like, I sucked. Like, I was like basically a waiter, and I remember I just sucked. Because like, I would get so nervous. I've always been like an anxious person, and something about like talking to these random country club members and taking their orders and whatever, like, made me nervous. And so I was bad, but then I got better because I had a knack for talking. And once I just got more comfortable, I got better. But I learned a lot through that job. But I remember I was going to move to Easton after I graduated high school. And so I already was pretty much moving. And then so I just like walked out one day. I was like, all right, well, I think I'm done.
Wasn't it getting pretty bad though, from what I've heard? Yeah,
they couldn't hold down like any managers or management because they were cheap. They were really cheap. I remember a customer or member said, like, I don't know if they canceled their membership or what, but they like went off one day and they were like, Silver Creek's the Kmart of country clubs, like, fuck this place or something like that. And like, I'll never forget that. So like, yeah, they couldn't keep a chef. They had like a head chef, and the head chef's really important because they manage all the other chefs. They oversee everything. They did weddings. So they oversaw like the banquet people, but they also oversaw the main restaurant that's open every day, which was the country club restaurant that the members could go to like any time of day. And so that's stressful, but they couldn't hold someone down because they would hire really shitty chefs, or they just wouldn't give them enough money. And they were like, well, fuck this. I'm going to go work for some shitty restaurant where I get paid more to just be a line cook, Yeah. So that's their problem. They were cheap. They would lowball. Yeah. So I learned a lot, but it wasn't that good of a job. But I definitely put it number 3 just because I learned a lot. And there were definitely good things about it because that's where I met Miles, my guitarist and food truck. But anyway, that's number 3. And yeah, I learned a lot. I met Miles, which was probably one of the greatest connections, in my 22 years on Earth here. And my second would probably be Redner's. I worked for Redner's in the deli, and that job, there was a lot of things about that job that sucked, but it was Redner's, so it was like a cheaper grocery store, so I almost expected just like dog shit. Like I expected the customers to suck, and so my expectations were low. So it was good. It was a good job. I learned a lot. I moved up. I got raises. That's where I really like polished my customer service, because I had to deal with a lot of people from Easton, and Easton's great, but there are like a lot of like scumbags, no offense to Easton, but so I learned how to put up with that.
You heard it here first, everyone. John hates the people where he lives.
That's why I still live here. And so I learned a lot from that job. I just really like Silver Creek. I learned like what not to say or do, like bare minimum. And so then I slightly got the idea of how to talk customer service wise. And then Redner's, I just polished it. I worked there for almost 2 years. I just like became a pro at talking to people, and and I kind of started not caring as much. Like when I first did customer service, I like cared way too much about what they thought for some reason. And then I kind of like toned it back, and now I don't really give a fuck. Like, as long as the conversation ends decent and they go away, like I'm just like, okay. Mm-hmm. And my favorite job is Chamois Shine. That's my current job. And so I don't know how long I'll be there, but my plan right now is to move to Philly with food truck. Once everything's like set in stone, we have enough money and all this quarantine stuff's over, and then I'll probably be assistant manager at Chamois Shine or some kind of higher up position. And so then I'll make decent money, because they do pay pretty well. Like I said, they treat their employees well. So that's my plan. It's just to ride that out. I don't see any reason why I'd leave Chamois Shine. So best job ever. Learned a lot. I don't really regret any of it. I regret maybe not starting sooner. That's my regret.
What would you... I guess, because I said my worst job was Stitch Fix, what would you say your worst job was? Just like, without going too deep into it, just maybe like a surface reason.
Yeah, okay. I worked at BJ's, and they paid really fucking well. It's so funny because their dynamic's pretty crazy. They are the most progressive liberal company I've ever worked for, but their customers are the most Trump supporting Republicans. It's insane. Like HR. HR.
HR.
What does that stand for?
Human resources.
Thank you. Drawing a blank here.
It
is human resources.
No, wait. I was gonna say, unless it's Stitch Fix, there it was P&C, people and culture. And that was they always had their stupid terms for everything, and I was like, no, you're HR, stop. Like,
why are you confusing everyone? I don't know. Okay, so the HR lady was tatted up. She had like a tattoo across her chest, and they were cool. They were like artsy tattoos, but she had like a sleeve, and she was young. She was probably like in her 30s maybe, and like I've never seen an HR person, and she didn't have to cover them up. She could just wear like a short, nice, shirt, or like business looking savvy clothing, and like her tattoos were just out. And that's like, so they were definitely more progressive, because like a lot of companies wouldn't hire someone, or at least let them be a big position like HR. She was the only, there was one HR that was in training, but she was the main HR person for the whole, that branch, and well, what I was getting at is they were very liberal. They would pay you very well. Like you would start off, like depending what you did, they could start you at like 12, which in PA is pretty high for an unskilled labor job. Just to start you off with, like $12 an hour. And this is where it gets stupid. This is the one thing I hate about jobs that pay you really fucking well right out of the gate. Is, after 3 months or a year, you're gonna want to raise, especially if you're pulling your weight. They were stingy with raises, and they were stingy with hours. So then what happened was you get paid really well, but they wouldn't want to give you a lot of hours. So then you're short staffed. You'd be working in the deli with 2 people, which is horrible. Like every deli anywhere should have at least 3, maybe 4 people.
Did you ever
understaffed? and overpaid. That's what I always say. It was awesome, but it was not worth it because as soon as you fucking clocked in, you were just getting shit on for 8 hours. Like you get a break, and if you're like 1 minute late coming back from your break, they make a huge fucking deal, and you were understaffed, so you were just stressed out for 8 fucking hours. I was like, dude, I would rather take a pay cut and just like have it a little more smooth. I had to be there at 6 in the morning almost every day, all the way till 2, sometimes later, because like I said, they were understaffed. And so it was crazy because the people that come there were wearing camo and like, no, I've noticed with these wholesale places, a lot of the people that shop there are super, it's almost like they're doomsday
prepping
or whatever. Yeah, it's like super Republican, like just over the top. And then the people that own the company are like, they hate Trump. And I'm like, this is insane.
That could just be a coincidence, though.
I don't know, but it blew my mind. Like, you literally, it was night and day there. And I was like, this is so crazy that, like, this company only really caters to these types of people. And then the only people that work there, like, everyone who worked there was super liberal. Like, it was crazy.
I know you were there for, like, 6 months, but did you ever...
No, I was there 8 months.
Did you ever work... Did you work there through, like, a holiday?
Oh, yeah. I worked there... Memorial Day, 4th of July, Easter,
and then
I don't even know.
Being understaffed, understaffed during the holidays. How did that go? Was that?
It was garbage. Everything they do is garbage. They're a terrible company. Same thing with Sam's Club and BJ's. No one needs wholesale shit unless you own a business. It's those businesses are going to go out, and the only reason Sam's Club would ever stay is because they're owned by Walmart. But you have to have a membership. That's how all these places are. As soon as you go in, they go, well, you can't buy that unless you're a member. So then they want you to pay $50 fucking a month just to be allowed in this store and buy shit.
Up.
I know, but make a wholesale store where you don't have to be a member. Like Walmart. Walmart is somewhat of a wholesale store in some ways, and you don't have to be a member. You could just walk in off the street. And that was their problem, is they couldn't meet the quota. They're supposed to hire, like, they're supposed to have one new member a day or something along those lines, and they would never meet it because, like, people who'd come in would be like, well, I only want to buy a bunch of this, like a huge amount of mayonnaise or a huge amount of bed sheets or something one time. Like, I don't own a business. I don't have 10 kids. I don't need a membership where I pay $50 a month just to buy this one thing this one time. So then they go, okay, well, I'm going to go fuck off and I'll go to Walmart. It's like, that's their fucking problem.
It's funny, this episode, normally, like, we're endorsing things, like, you know, like, oh, go here, or sponsor me here, and it's like, this is the episode where we're literally just, like, setting fire to so many bridges right now, like...
Oh, I don't care. I literally told them that. I was like, this company sucks. Like,
wow.
Because they were like, I told them one day I wasn't going in, and they were like, they call me, like, everything's okay, and, like, you know, like... I was scheduled the next day, and they're like, so are you coming in tomorrow? I was like, no. And they were like, why? And I was like, it's just like, it's not worth it. Well, I wasn't like angry, but I was at that point where the pain outweighed the pleasure. And so I literally was just like, it's not worth it. Like, so, I'd rather just collect unemployment or make no money until I find another job.
Weren't you working pretty far from home too? Like, it was like
yeah, like, it was far. It's 30 minutes maybe.
The drive for him, that was like me with Stitch Fix, or even like the job I work at now is pretty far away. Mm-hmm. And like at first I was having a really hard time settling into this job, but then like I eventually did, obviously. But yeah, it's like when you have a long commute, that's so shitty.
Especially when it's not worth it, in the sense of like when I graduated Saucon Valley and I moved to Easton, I loved Easton, Palmer, everything up that way, and then everything that goes into New Jersey, like Peaburg and those kind of areas. I liked it because it was all new and exciting. Quakertown, Nazareth, and Hellertown are so fucking old to me because my whole life I've been in that area. So like, it was like me going backwards. I was like, wow, I didn't go to college and I'm doing this instead. Like, this is really depressing. I have to drive 30 minutes to go back to this place that I'm pretty much from. And it's just like, you know, like, I don't have the best of memories of Quakertown. Like, I just never clicked with Quakertown. Like, it's more like rural, and I don't want to say redneck, just like not too much to do, some poverty, and like I've just never been a fan of Quakertown. So working there, I was just like, God, I hate these people.
Another anti-endorsement.
No, I'll say it. Fuck Quakertown. There's like a lot of the people that go there are just miserable as fuck. Like working at BJ's, you would just get these people that are just miserable.
I do work with some miserable people currently.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even the people that worked at BJ's. They kind of sucked, but it was like hit or miss. There were some people that were good, but most of BJ's staff sucked, and I don't like. I believe that. I'll tell them that, like they kind of sucked. They were Debbie Downers, but I only think it's because it was a cause and effect. I think they were Debbie Downers because of how shitty the customers were. The customers at BJ's were really fucking shitty, and I think over time, a lot of the people that worked at BJ's, I don't think they were naturally negative, but a lot of the people would just, all they did was complain. They'd be like, oh, blah, blah. And so when you're around that all the time, it definitely weighs on you. So
I remember, so I work in Quakertown right now. I'm like almost as far down as Percy, though. I drive hella far to work.
So you know what it is. There's something in the water.
Well, quick story. I'd been at my job maybe like 2 months, and I was still like, my job took a while to adjust because like I went from just like manual labor and packaging and using your body to like, okay, I actually have to think about what I'm doing. I have times to memorize on the ovens and temperatures and like, so I had some anxieties going into this job, and especially like the people I work with, that was big adjustment because of how they act.
Yeah, I mean, working with anyone at 2 a.m, like you're gonna find some weirdos.
I showed up the one night at it was like almost 2, and the person that let me in the building, because I have to call because the building's locked.
Remember this.
And she goes, "Welcome to hell." And I was like, "Oh, good morning to you too." Like, what the hell? And that was like 2 or 3 times that happened to me.
That's what I had to do when I would come in at 6 a.m. The store's not open at BJ's.
So it's like, I'm already having anxieties and like things I'm kind of like nervous about, and I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
But
there's been too much negativity going on here. There needs to be a little positive intervention here.
Okay,
I agree.
This guy's not from Quakertown.
It's from Center Valley.
I worked in Quakertown also. I worked at the Panera in Quakertown.
Oh, okay.
We need okay.
Let's hear this then. I like this.
But I'm not going to go Quakertown. I'm going to go a different job.
Okay.
It's more about just like coming into your own, kind of dealing with anxiety.
Okay.
So I was in school and I was looking for a job, and I got an interview at a pizza place. The name's slipping my mind, but I got the interview.
Mm-hmm.
They offered me the job. They said, okay. And it was just like cashier.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing major. I didn't have to know the whole menu to be a waiter or anything. Good perks, really nice guy. He was going to let me drink beer while I was standing at the register. Like, you can have a beer on your shift.
Whoa.
Just don't,
shit.
Just don't be like drunk to the customers. But, I was dealing with like not having that customer facing position. I had that one job with the pet food store, and that was fine, but it was really slow there. It was like a niche market. Not so many people coming in. A pizza place gets pretty busy, and it just, in my mind, like I put so much pressure on that, and I put so much pressure on myself to be really good at punching these buttons. So I did it for 2 days, and then the third day I called them and I said, "Yeah, I can't do this anymore."
Wow, but
it was like I psyched myself out.
I thought you were gonna say because I know one of my jobs I won't name because this one's bad, but I used to smoke weed almost every day before I'd go to that job because I thought it would help my anxiety. Later on, I realized it just spiked it. It made it worse. But I don't really smoke anymore. I thought you were going in the direction of he would let you have one beer or something, and one day your anxiety was really bad.
He got so drunk.
You were like 5 beers in, and
I wish, man. I didn't even get to the 1 beer per shift.
Really?
Like I said, I made it 3 days. I went in 2 days. I was like shadowing somebody, but the anxiety was so bad, and like the weird fake made up pressure that was in my mind. I was just like, I literally can't even go. I can't show up because,
man,
I know how that I can relate. There's been jobs I've quit where like BJ's, I think I was more just fed up. So I was too anxious to call them. So I just didn't show up the one day. You know what I mean? Like you just don't show up because for some reason that's the easier way out.
Yeah.
Instead of calling and telling them.
I almost quit my current job because of how bad my anxiety was. Like I remember talking to Aaron. Aaron and I talked about it a lot last year. Like I think I'd been there a week, and just because of how like my assistant manager was at the time, I mean they were understaffed. I think it was literally just the assistant manager, my manager, a cake decorator, and then a nighttime guy who did an awful job at everything. So it was like they were understaffed, and like the management was stressed because they were having to come in and do the 2 o'clock shift all the time, and like they didn't have like they wanted management at the store later so that there could be a manager in the department to deal with customers if they had issues or questions. So like they were probably stressing because they were either working like really long and early shifts, or I could tell my first day of work story. I remember I showed up, I was nervous because it was my first day, and I'm like, okay, like I know how to bake, but I've never baked in like a retail setting, so this will be something to learn. I show up at 2 a.m. There's no one in the department. Oh, and it was snowing, by the way, so I remember I drifted into the parking lot because it was icy. Show up and no one's in the department, and I'm like, I hope they don't expect me to just like start working because I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. I don't know where anything is. So I asked someone, I was like, is there someone coming in? And they were like, oh yeah, so and so will be in, the assistant manager at 2. And so like I've come to know now, like this person likes to have a cigarette before they start their shift, and then it's like they come in like a little like around 2. They don't come in like right at 2.
Fashionably late.
Yeah. So then like she comes in and I'm like, oh hi, like I'm Matt, I don't really know what you want me to do. And she just goes on this tirade. She's like, I don't know what the fuck they want me to show you. I don't know. Oh my god, my stomach hurts. This fucking guy, I don't know what the fuck they want me to show you. And I'm like,
misdirected anger.
I was like, just show me whatever I gotta know. I don't know. I don't know why they put you on the schedule today and then you're off tomorrow and then you're coming back again. Why don't they just schedule multiple days in a row? Like freaking out my first day. So like I'm short on sleep. I'm nervous because it's a new job. I'm like, and this was before I learned how to like control my anxiety better, and I was just kind of like, oh my god. I think I texted someone at like 4 a.m. I was like 2 hours in my shift, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Like this is awful.
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know if I would have kept doing that.
And then like a week, I was there for like a week, and like my manager wasn't really talking to me much. He was like giving me the cold shoulder for whatever reason, and just like
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean like they had
This is why these people work at 2 a.m. because that's the only time they can work. Because they're just like dysfunctional.
Yeah, and it's just like not a positive first day. And like I remember at the end of my first week, I was already looking for another job because I was like, this is awful. Like one of the things I've also learned is like you need to take care of yourself. I used to be so scared of like calling out if I was sick. Like if I was really sick, like with a sinus infection or whatever, I wouldn't call out. I'd just work through it. But I've learned is like you have to take care of your health, and like you can't. It's not worth making yourself miserable and doing a half-assed job and also putting other people at risk of getting sick. You just stay home, rest, and then go back to work sooner so you're not stressed.
Right. And like if you look at what you do, like I look at that a lot of times where like I wash cars, and like if we have enough staff, it's like it's not the end of the world if I'm not there. Yeah. And I don't call out unless I'm really sick, so I think I've only called out one time, but I've just been fortunate that I could just power through it. But like you just make donuts. Like what's gonna happen if you don't show up? It's not like you're like a doctor and you have this crazy brain surgery planned on somebody, and if you don't show up, like I mean it does kind of screw them, because like so like last year was a weird year for me. It was very, very up and down, and like I had to call out a lot at the beginning because of the weather, because I'm so far from there, and like if there was ice on the roads, like I couldn't drive 35 minutes in my little rear wheel sedan, and then not only that, like there were other. He drives a Ford Pinto.
No, it was just like there was the weather issues like right off the bat, and then once that cleared up, there was one time both of my front tires went flat, and I was like, how the hell does that happen? And then there was like stuff in my personal life going on, and like I called out probably like I don't even know how many times last year, and it was shitty, and like
I would have hated you.
I hated it because I knew everyone was pissed at me, but like the thing is like I've cleaned it up. So I've called out once this year.
I would have poisoned your donut.
It was
free donut on me, Matt. And I would have put some cyanide in there.
Oh my god! No, like I've definitely.
You don't. Wow, you really do look sick. Were you thinking about calling out?
Oh, I feel like I could die.
Yeah.
No, but like, yeah, I just had a lot going on last year, and I did call it a lot. This year, it's different. New.
Everybody has a lot going on.
Yeah. No, it was just.
It's like time
global
standing
pandemic.
still. Time standing still.
Yeah. It's weird when the most shit's going on now. I'm like so consistent. I called out once because I had the flu and I was like violently throwing up
from the donut.
It could have even been the coronavirus. Who knows? But either way, no. They with the shift I work, if you do call out, it kind of screws the people that come in though, because usually there's someone in at 3 or 4, usually like a manager or a packaging person to just like package the breads and stuff and do like pull the old items. But like I will, if I call out, specifically tell them like, call whoever's in after me, let them know they have to come in at 2 because I'm not going to be there. I will stress that to the manager I talk to, and pretty much every time,
definitely give you a donut that was poisoned.
Pretty much every time, no one calls the manager. So then the manager comes in at 4 a.m. or whatever, and nothing's done yet, and they're like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then it's like, then they get mad at me, and I'm like, "I told them to call you. Like, I don't know what you wanted me to do. Like
they wanted you to eat a poisoned donut.
You're really, man. You're on the hate wagon today. You're ready. You're ready to go burn BJ's.
I think I'm naturally negative sometimes, especially if I'm trying to be funny.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to be more positive, But fuck BJ's, if that's what you're getting at.
All right.
They suck.
All right. So I think this was a good discussion. Is there, I guess the one thing let's close on something fun. Aaron, do you have any wild stories from BJ, or not BJ's, I'm sorry.
From BJ's.
All right,
any wild BJ stories?
Aaron, have you given any wild BJ's in the last week? No. Is that what you're doing during unemployment?
Yeah.
No.
Freelancing his mouth.
Yeah, the key to networking.
Yeah.
No, I guess, do you have any like crazy Panera stories?
I want to hear the Panera thing. We skipped over that.
Let's close on Panera.
That's what I want to hear.
I worked at 2 different Paneras. I worked at one in Nashville for a while.
How?
Okay.
You see Jack White?
No. I did work with a dishwasher who supposedly was neighbors with one of Taylor Swift's guitarists.
Huh.
He was a real cool guy, but
what's his name? Hobo Johnson?
Lenny.
Oh, Lenny Kravitz. Okay.
You never know what you can believe, though.
Yeah. And so, did he fly? Did he fly away? Did he get away? What's that song? Is it Fly Away or?
Anyways, okay.
Lenny the dishwasher. You guys had a secret relationship. You're gonna
oh no,
release it on air now, and now we know. And Taylor Swift's guitarist is pissed.
You meet a lot of interesting people in the service industry.
Absolutely. Especially
in a town like Nashville where everybody's trying to be a musician and they normally have some other job that's supporting that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to meet a real cool country guitar guy who was making sandwiches on the line every day. There's a drummer who has now toured with a couple different successful bands who was, again, making food at Panera at that time. I met a really good guy in Quakertown who I went out to lunch with a couple times. He kind of became slightly a mentor to me for a little while. And that was all just, I was standing at the register. He would come in every Sunday or Tuesday morning.
A customer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And we would just talk while I was getting his bakery stuff ready or whatever. And then eventually we formed a relationship outside of work.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't have any like super exciting stories for you.
Oh, come on.
It's typical food
industry
stuff. You never got robbed? No.
You never got beat with a breadstick?
No.
Did they have breadsticks at Panera?
Well, they give those baguettes out, those pieces of baguette.
Oh.
You always have the people that come back and complain that you got their order wrong or that something wasn't right.
That's awkward.
I worked at, this is not Panera related, but I worked at CVS for a while.
Oh,
yes, that's when Aaron and I became friends.
I had one very strange story from there. Some guy came in who had bought a cell phone. Like, you know how they have those prepaid cell phones or whatever?
Yeah.
So he bought a phone there and he brought it in and I was a shift supervisor. So I was the manager on duty at the time, and he comes in yelling that his phone isn't working and he wants his money back because he bought the phone there. And I tried to explain to him that we only cited the phone, like you have to buy the minutes separately. And if you're out of minutes, like you have to call this company. Like I can't do anything
not our
for
fault.
you.
Yeah, that's
and I don't know if this guy had something wrong with him or if he was just in a rage of fury and didn't really know how things worked. But
was he also mad that he had to get a 6-pack of donuts?
I think so.
Yeah, it was the same guy.
I don't know if he was dying, but long story short, I ended up calling the company that you get minutes from and just like clarifying that, yeah, you don't have any minutes.
Yeah.
So you just have to either buy more.
It's crazy that you had to go to that extent, you know, to just get him away.
But I mean, this guy wasn't leaving and wasn't understanding that he was like, I'm going to stay here till something happens. So.
I have a story like that that's very short, but it's very similar.
Okay.
We had a guy come into the car wash, and he had one of these big trucks, like it's a GMC Sierra, but it's like, those trucks are fine. Stock, they're fine. But he had what they're called spacers, and they push the wheels out. It's like one of those trucks. It's lifted, and it has spacers, and it's over the top.
So he has no penis.
Yeah, he was short, fat, and had no penis. And it was one of these things where I told him, I said, what size are your wheels? Because our track is only 12 and a half inches, and his wheels were 12. So they just fit in the track, like barely. And so I suggested to him to go to 191, which is in Bethlehem, because their track is custom built and it's a little bit wider. Because I didn't tell him his car is going to get scratched or anything like that, but I was just like, you know, your truck is like at the absolute limit of size for our tunnel, like width wise, and height wise is pretty up there. It's like over 84 inches, which is like 8 feet or somewhere around there. So like, because it was so high off the ground. And he just wanted to wash his car, this and that. And, you know, I kept kind of giving him like little hints, like, you know, you should probably just wash it in the self-wash. And no, he wanted to go through the tunnel. So he goes through the tunnel. He comes back around and he claims that we scratched his wheels, his like $5,000 rims. But they're these 3-piece rims that go like really far in. And I'm like, there's no way our equipment could even reach inside of your wheel. Like we don't have equipment like that. Like that's not a thing anywhere. And he flipped the fuck out. So my manager comes out and my manager's talking to him. My manager's a nice guy, but like if you talk shit to him, like he'll talk shit back. And the guy was just like, you fucking ruined my fucking rims, you're gonna pay for this. And my manager's like, you keep cursing at me, like I'm not gonna help you, like I'm gonna walk away. And sure enough, he keeps cursing, so he goes, all right, have a nice day, because the guy just kept being like, fuck you, like this place sucks. So he calls the cops on us, and the cop comes down, and the cop's like, there's nothing I can do, like thanks for wasting my time. So then the cop goes off on him and it's like, you're an idiot, like thanks for wasting my time, like this is a private company, you have to take it up with them. He's like, I'm a police officer, like
so I could be saving someone's life right now, and instead you're bitching to me about your wheels.
Oh, he wouldn't leave. He stayed in the lot for like an hour, and he called the police. And I felt so bad because I looked in his truck, and his son's in there. And his son's like 10 years old, and I'm like, what a good influence.
Man.
Yeah,
like
right?
he's teaching his son that if something goes wrong, because number one, we didn't scratch his car, but like whatever, even if we did, he's teaching his son that this is how you handle adult problems, is you scream and curse at people, and then you call the cops for some bullshit. Like what was the cop gonna do? Yeah, you could just tell a cop was like fucking pissed. He was just like, holy shit, like, you know, I was eating lunch or I was doing something, and you fucking, you know, call me like an emergency, and I rush over here just to see you, your fat white ass complaining about a fucking stupid truck. Like, just don't go through a fucking automated car wash if you're worried about micro scratches or you have this huge modified vehicle. Like, I feel like that's pretty normal to understand, but some people can't get it through their heads, and we have people. That was one, I've had so many crazy incidents with people flipping out, but that's one that rings in my head just because he called the police. I've never had that happen.
I think the craziest of my work stories would have been from Saucon Valley Music. My under the table 2-night a week during high school job.
2 nights a week.
Yeah, it was just like basically
Busy schedule.
I took lessons from the guy that ran the store, and basically what we were paying him in lessons every month, he was paying me back to work there. So he was
pretty smart.
He was breaking even. But yeah, I'd worked like 2 or 3 nights a week there for a few hours. And like as a high schooler, I was like, this is fucking great. I can go buy pizza.
You can do your homework.
I can, I would do stuff like that. And if the store was slow, I could play guitar. That, it was cool. The one story that stands out, and I've wanted to tell this on the podcast for a while now. There was the Sausage Fingers guitar guy. This guy comes in and he's like short, fat, tubby. He looked dirty.
What if it's the same guy that came to my car wash?
But he looked like dirty and like he looked like he could have been homeless. It smelled like an ashtray,
like disheveled,
just like
ashtray.
Yeah, just like gross. And
I'm picturing a troll.
He kind of looked like a troll.
Newport in his mouth.
And he walked in with this like really beat up old guitar case, and it was like a hard shell case. And he was like, "Hey, you guys buy instruments here?" And I said, "Yeah, we do. We do take used instruments. Why? What do you got?" And he opens it up. And so normally hard shell guitar cases have like a mold, like a soft, velvet mold you can put the guitar in, and like it keeps it safe. It's like soft material.
Would he have like nails in there?
No, he actually had a crucifix that he had nailed it to. No, it was on fire. No, it was just like an empty shell. So like the guitar's like rattling around in it as he's walking around. And
was it an electric or an acoustic?
Yeah, it was an electric guitar.
Yeah, that's why.
So it's like rattling around, and so he opens it up, and it's this super like weird looking. It was almost like an offset body type, like almost like a Fender Jaguar. For those of you who don't know, an offset body type is just kind of like it's like slanted, and it's like a weirder shape. It's not your standard like.
So he had Kurt Cobain's guitar with him.
Very similar, yeah. And but it was like the bridge, like some of the parts were plastic, like the pickups and the bridge and the knobs were all plastic, and it was just like super old looking.
Really?
And I was like, he's like, well, how much could I get for this? I gotta get I gotta get a one of those Gibson SG or an Epiphone SG. I got short, fat sausage fingers. My short, stubby fingers. And I was like, okay. I was like, Jerry, come here. I called my boss, the owner, out, and he's like, hey, what do you got? And I was like, this guy wants to sell us this guitar. And Jerry looks at it. He's like, well, what is it? Because it's not like it was like a Fender or a Gibson.
Was it
or
like a custom or something?
It was
just like a mishmash.
It was Kent guitar. So basically, in the 1960s in Japan, they had factories that would just pump out all these guitars.
Kent.
And it was like they may come from the same factory, but they just stamped different brands on them. So there's Kent, there was K. I have one. It's labeled Domino. And like in Japan in the 60s, that's what they did, and they just made all these like weird. I don't want to say shitty because mine's really good, but like just like
lower quality,
bizarrely put together, like with plastic, and like some of them have like all sorts of knobs and switches.
I've never heard of Kent.
And so Jerry was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think I can sell this. Like, it's not something people are going to be looking for, especially because like at Jerry's store, it's like a lot of beginners go in and take lessons. It's not like there's like a seasoned veteran gear nerd that's going to go in there and be like, oh my God, is this a Kent from the 1960s? I got to own,
Yeah, you got a lot of young kids that don't know anything about guitar companies,
So this whole exchange with Jerry was maybe 30 seconds. He comes out, he's like, yeah, I can't sell this. He goes back to his lesson. The guy's just like, all I smell is ash and cigarettes, and this dirty guy standing there talking my ear off about, I gotta get a Gibson SG, my short sausage fingers. And he kept saying about his sausage fingers. And I was like, what the
heck?
And then he holds up his hands as he's saying this, and I looked down and I was like, holy shit, this guy's fingers were probably like
chodes.
He had like chode fingers. They were really short, really big, like girthy fingers, and I was like, holy shit.
Can he pick up a glass of water?
I'm like,
is that possible?
I'm like, how did you play guitar? Like, what the hell? And he's, and at this point he's starting to back away with the guitar, like walking backwards, still talking to me. Gibson SG, my short sausage fingers, my stubby sausage finger, like just, and he's still talking to me as he walks out the door. And like, even after he left and the door's closing, he's still talking to me. And I just remember standing there thinking, what the hell just happened? Like that was probably one of my most interesting work stories out of all of them. So
I've never heard that one.
I'm surprised. I thought I would have told you that.
I know probably most of your work stories.
Saucon Valley Music, yeah.
Like when Clay Vingo's friend came in.
Yeah, that was interesting. But anyways, I think that's a good spot to wrap up. We talked about a lot today.
I think we let it all out.
I think
everything is out. Every feeling of hatred, love, and anguish has been released.
All of the bridges are burned.
Yeah.
Because of.
We're starting to build new ones, but I feel pretty good about those ones.
Yeah, but anyways, great episode today. Men at work. We're hard at work. Hard at work. Yeah. I can't see below Aaron's waist, but I know he's hard at work. But
you can see below my waist, and you know I'm very flaccid.
Yeah, because John needs Viagra.
Hey.
Yes, ED.
I have a prescription.
Viagra, please sponsor me. But anyways, guys, this has been a great talk. I would like to thank you both for partaking. This was a lot of fun. I knew this would be a great episode with both of you. For those listening, if you're new and you like what you heard, follow me on SoundCloud right here. When I'm in season mode, we do 2 episodes a month. Now I'm trying to get into a 1 episode per month special until we hit season 2, once that's finally coming out. Give me a follow if you like what you heard. Like the podcast, share it with your friends, and I just hope it was an entertaining episode. But guys, thank you very much. This was a good talk, and can't wait to have you on to break more guest records in the future.
Ooh.
Thank you. I look forward to the next episode.